Alright guys, what's going on? It's Indy here with Ultimate Tour Reviews. Well, Banggood, they sent me one of their all-new workbenches, which is pretty cool. Honestly, I've been looking to replace possibly the workbench you can see in there that I do a lot of my reviews on with something maybe a little bit more that I can kind of get my legs under, you know, kind of treat more like a desk than like a workbench / tool storage. So anyways, this is going to be the WB0102 Pro. This thing is pretty heavy. It's got a gross weight of 35.6 kg, which I think is like, what, 60, 70 pounds, somewhere in that range. And let's get this thing popped open. All right, to put this workbench together, super easy. You're going to need just a couple of tools. So you're going to need an impact driver, Phillips number 2 bit. You're going to need an impact wrench. You're going to need a hex number 5 key. Hex key, basically it's a metric size. Number 5, you're going to need an extension and a number 17 millimeter socket. You're also going to need a nice and short, doesn't really need to be short, but I think it works better when it's a short wrench, a 1/2-inch wrench. And then of course, there's going to be a couple extra pieces that are optional to install, but we'll get to those in just a second. So let's jump into it. All right, looks to be almost the exact same kind of bench top as the Cobalt I've got. Some type of like interlaced pine, I guess you could say, is how it goes together. And there's our instructions. Let's get going. Okay, this looks actually really simple here. There's only just a handful of parts here that go together. There's a power strip in there too, which is awesome. The bench I've got right now does not have a power strip, and I would love to have one in there. But yeah, pretty basic here. A couple of bolts here, of course. Use power tools. And they say, use a Phillips screwdriver, use a spanner or a wrench. I'm like, nope, I'm using power tools and get it done faster there. Let's see here. It looks pretty simple here. Instructions are pretty quick. There's only actually 5 steps here, so pretty simple. Let's get to it. Alright, so step 1, like I said, is install the power strip. Obviously, it's going to be that bracket that has the power strip opening there. And this is pretty simple instructions here. So let's just start with what step 1 is. Step 2 is then, of course, attach the beams. Very simple there. Look how nice they give you for this parts organizer. That is so nice. Look at this. You can keep everything organized in there, all of your bolts and nuts in one spot. Love that. So all you really got to do here is your first step is you're going to actually attach all of the pieces to each other, not to the base just yet. You're actually going to put the 4 screws on each side. There's 2 there, 2 there, 2 there, 2 there. You're going to attach those first. All the holes then should line up nicely. That's what I'm doing right now to make sure I got all the holes in the right spot. Pretty simple here. All right, for the next step, these bolts that go in there, all 4 on each side, you're going to be using a H5 or hex 5, metric 5, little adapter. You can use that to get that in a lot quicker. I do not like doing these by hand, so I always throw these on a impact wrench and go from there. All right, next step now, back to a Phillips number 2. We're going to install these screws that go all on the inside here. There's a bunch of them, and they go in the pre-drilled hole. So very simple to do here. Well, it's kind of a bummer. I'm actually missing 1 screw. I poured out all the screws into the box there, so I know I didn't put it somewhere where it wasn't supposed to go, but I got all the screws except 1. I got an extra screw I can pull out of a drawer and put that in there, so that's no problem. But all the holes did line up actually quite nicely, so I made it go by really easily here. I've been, missing 1 screw here, kind of annoying, but I got 1 extra one of those, so no big deal, and we'll move on to the next steps here. Okay, so the next step, step 4, is going to be adjust the height. It's going to go from 31.5 to 39.4. The current height of my desktop is right around 38, so I definitely would like the extra 1.5 inches there, giving me a bit more height. So I'm going to make it go all the way up here. Very simple to do. All right, so these bolts are actually pretty simple. Again, I'm going to be using the exact same hex adapter here, the H5, and then we're also using a 1/2-inch wrench for the bolts. So super simple to put this on. I like how they really have it very few tools. You actually need to put this thing together, and pretty quick. Let's get this thing tightened up. All right, looks like our final step here, step 5, is now just attach the, I guess, rubber feet. It says rubber wood top. That's already installed. So obviously we're just going to be attaching the feet now. So actually pretty easy. I'm just going to screw these things all the way in, and it should be pretty easy to set this thing up for, having this thing not wobble or shake or anything. Make sure everything's all level. So let's get that done. One thing I noticed quick too is that these are kind of wobbly. Even after I tighten them down, I'm going to tighten these things down again and try to make sure this thing does not wobble when it's all set up. Whew! All right, that thing is all set up now. It's actually pretty solid. So I didn't make any adjustments to this table. I did install one of the legs incorrectly where I put it up 1 notch too far. I just needed to drop it down 1. That was pretty simple. But I made no adjustment to this table at all. Just if you follow the instructions exactly how I installed it, this thing is pretty stable. It's not wobbly or anything at all. Only thing I did not install was any of the pegboard stuff. I have no need for that. I'm going to have stuff on both sides of this thing, so not putting that stuff on. But filming plus putting this thing together took me about 30 minutes. So if I did this without filming, I could probably do this in under 20 minutes. Very simple to install. Seems pretty solid, honestly. I'm looking forward to replacing my current little filming area with this new desktop. It seems like every desktop you would find in a store worktop, this is just a simple, pine kind of thing they put together. Looks exactly like my Cobalt one, so not really expecting any issues with durability on this thing, but this is great. This is actually going to be awesome. So honestly, great quality for this thing. It's amazingly stable. Just make sure you tighten down every single bolt on this thing to make sure it stays totally stable. Yes, they are using lock nuts, but make sure they are tight. It was not very tight when I was putting it all together, and I'm like, this doesn't seem right. I just tightened everything down really good, and now it's totally rock solid. So it's that simple, guys. But link in the description, guys, if you want to check this thing out on Amazon. And thanks for watching, guys. Stay safe out there.